We're live. We're live.
We are live. Hello. How are we?
We are okay. I have a couple of libations lined up. We have a guest.
Ditto. We have a guest. We have a good night. This is the BoozeDancing Entertainment Network live on a Good King Wednesday because it's the holidays. Get that? Usually it's a Good King Wednesday. Isn't that like some song? It's a Christmas song. Okay. Usually it's Whiskey Wednesday, but we had to make the W's all work, so it's Good King Wednesday.
Well, I think the mission tonight is two things. Number one, have a couple nice drinks. Number two, talk about, with our guest, his holiday centric special.
Correct.
And maybe make me a little less grinchy.
Oh, geez, we'll be here all night.
Well, that's
holy
true.
Crap! There's not enough alcohol for that. Jesus,
well, there is, but I might die before I'm less grinchy. So,
let's see. We are live on where? YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, BoozeDancing.com. Where else are we?
Not BoozeDancing.com, but those four, yes.
Oh,
Facebook,
okay,
LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter.
Got it. Okay, so you and all you guys out there who are just maybe tuning in, you can put some comments in the chat wherever you are, and we'll be happy to chat back at you. Tell your friends, wake the kids, wake the dog, bring them all out. This is a holiday special event for us, right?
Yeah. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Shall we run our one quick intro and then we'll run another intro?
Yeah. Come on, we'll do that.
All right,
let's go.
Let's do that.
Get the show going.
You got it. Welcome to the murder table. Cheers.
Salute. Oh, cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Salute.
Sir.
Cheers.
Cheers. Sludge. A caipirinha.
Like Martinelli, as you said, with a kick.
We do a little swirl.
Or zat. Appetizer. That makes me sad, but you know what makes me happy? Whiskey.
Cacao.
It's everything I thought it would be and less smelly.
Less smelly.
And more filling. We are back live on BoozeDancing Entertainment Network, and we are here with a special guest tonight, who has frequented the airwaves with us many times on our podcast. This is going to be, I guess we'd call this a what we listen to when we drink podcast, and we'll get to that for that reason in a second.
Yes.
Yep. Should we bring our guest in a second?
You know what? I got a little intro for him too.
Let's go. Let's get more video for the kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't really get the holiday theme music, but that's okay. The visuals do it.
The kids love the visuals.
There we go. All right, let's do it. Feliz Navidad.
Hello.
Happy holidays. We are joined by our friend, frequent guest, author, cocktail maven, journalist. What else?
Make it like my photo.
Yeah, your photo is actually diabolical. It says, "I'm going to get you drunk."
This is our guest. His name is right below his picture right there. Merry Christmas. I mean, it's André Darlington. Yes. André, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Love to be on.
Always. How much have you been on? It's like a fifth time?
This is like 10 times, 12 times.
I don't know.
I know it's getting to be like Saturday Night Live. We have to do like a little induction ceremony. This is like 5 or 10.
Oh, that's funny. André, let's see. You've written a bunch of cocktail books, right?
Just a few.
Written a couple cocktail books. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And let's see. And now we have a new one, which we're going to talk about tonight. It is holiday time, right? And you are we are on the thick of this holiday December time frame. What do you do for the holidays besides tour around with books? What's your holiday?
Has begun.
Gig?
You know, this one's an interesting one because usually I'm almost done with my book tour around now. I sort of, you know, am of the belief that you sort of get the ball rolling, and if you've done your job and advertised and gone on book tour, you kind of sit back in mid-December and just, you know, watch Santa fill the stocking with your book, right? This year I'm on tour still. So I'm on tour. I'm doing the Southeast still. So I got out of the North in the snow, and still on book tour this year. You know, I moved to North Carolina a couple of years ago. And so we haven't spent a Christmas here yet. So we're actually spending Christmas in our home in North Carolina. We have a tree up. We have lights up. We have lights in the yard. So I've become Clark Griswold in my old age.
Clark!
And, you know, I've got, we actually have a tree, which is not an evergreen, covered in lights and Christmas balls in the front yard.
What is it?
Who knew? It's like a ligustrum, so it's a very green and leafy vegetal bush. It's a shrubbery, really.
It's a shrubbery. Nice.
Shrubbery.
Quite nice. So the holidays. So you've never had been in the South for the holidays. This is going to be a whole new thing for you.
It's kind of fun because when we lived in Philadelphia, and when we were driving down to our new home in North Carolina, you sort of get past Richmond and heading towards Raleigh. And the whole state smells like Christmas trees all year round. So it really is North Carolina's moment, I feel, this time of year. We don't have snow yet, but it's a very Christmassy state just because of all the evergreens and spruces that we have.
I thought it was like the furniture capital of the world, so you smell like, you know, couches.
It is. Yeah, I agree. I think, every fifth person's just wandering around with sap on them from the woods.
Well, where do you think all the used trees go? They go to your new dinette set.
Exactly.
Your new Broy Hill dinette set.
That's right.
My Christmas tree is getting turned into something at, Bed Bath & Beyond later.
There you go.
That's right.
Well, formerly Bed Bath & Beyond. Before we go too far, we should do a little clink clink and celebrate the cheers. Maybe
cocktail reveal number one.
No, let's wait. We'll just wait.
We'll
come back.
Okay.
Yep, because we'll go slowly in this, and maybe Andre can give us a little toast. I love toast. Andre, a toast.
Well, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. And may you listen to wonderful music with your friends, whether, on turntable, preferably, or not. Get together with your friends and listen to some music this holiday season, or sit by yourself and nurse some whiskey on a rock of ice. It doesn't matter. It's all about having those kind of warm feels, which I think
beautiful
is all about. So
cheers
cheers,
and happy holidays.
Cheers.
To listening parties, one and all.
Well, so that is a perfect lead-in to Andre's new book. Ta-da!
Yay!
Booze and Vinyl Christmas.
So this is a little departure from your first two Booze and Vinyl books. Those were strictly about vinyl records, pairing them with cocktails, and this is a very, very, very niche thing. This is all about holiday Christmas music, right?
Yeah, this one had a really interesting sort of gestation. This is the running press. I think this is my seventh book with them, seventh book with the same editor. Kind of unheard of. We just have a great relationship. She's who I did Bar Menu with and Booze Cruise, going all the way back to A New Cocktail Hour. And we had talked about doing another Booze and Vinyl. What would that look like? And I sort of shied away from doing a volume 3 right away. And then this idea kind of got kicked around. We were kicking around a few ideas, and somebody said, how about a Booze and Vinyl holiday album? And I kind of jumped on it. One, because it is niche-y, and I like that idea. It's a little bit shorter. The other books are 70, so they're huge with 140 recipes. I think this is 45 recipes in here. So we wanted to do a little more than half of what we've done before. Although it still turned out as thick, so I'm confused about that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, it's a nice thick Christmas book. But what I really loved, which I love the Christmas music, of course, and I was ready to dive into that. But this gave me the opportunity to do kind of holiday or winter drinks. Winter drinks are a really specific category. I have a few in all of the books in a way. Winter drinks to me are cream, hot. You have your wintertime spices, rosemary, cinnamon, that kind of stuff. And I was really excited to get the opportunity to do a specifically holiday cocktail book. And what better way to do a holiday cocktail book than as a booze and vinyl book? So that's kind of how it got started. The other thing was when they wanted to do it, it's been a number of years now. I think I started Booze and Vinyl 1 in 2016, 2017, came out in 2018. Wow. So we're talking 6 years here, pretty much. And some of the band had moved on, and I was insistent that it be the same people that did volume 1 and 2. And we got them all back together. It is the same people, the same, all in Philadelphia. We got everybody together, the stylist, the graphic designer, the photographer, and once again, rented a hotel room in Philadelphia for a week. And so it's really got that same vibe. You'll notice, some people will notice from the other volumes, some of the props are even the same. That same record player, that blue record player from volume 1 is in there, and that kind of stuff. And I really feel like that visual consistency and stylistic consistency was so important. So I think they knocked it out of the park on this one.
We've talked about this before. These books are designed so beautifully. They are fun to look at. Even if you don't look at the words, they are just really pretty to look at. They're really pretty. So what was your growing up with holiday music? How did you what was going on in the house with music come the holidays?
Yeah, so I grew up, I've talked about this a little bit on the other volumes. I grew up with a turntable in the center of the house. We had a fireplace in the same living room at the other end. But the turntable was really kind of the hearth of our house in a way. And it was really a tradition to, sort of in these December days when the sun set and, it was probably after dinner, throw on a Christmas album and, sit around. And actually we did have our chestnut roaster. We roasted chestnuts. It was really like classic kind of stuff. And we would listen to Christmas music. And what's fun is everybody kind of has their own Christmas albums that ring true to them. And what was fun doing this book was discovering some albums that are really important to many other people, but I didn't grow up with. But it's fun. And I think, going on this tour, I've learned a lot about people's traditions, which was, sometimes like, well, I made mom and dad a cocktail and they sat out the couch and listened to music.
That's great. Well, before we dive into more details on the book, why don't we talk about, we all made cocktails tonight from the book.
Correct.
Right? Andre, what did you make out of the book? What cocktail did you pick out of this?
I'm doing a couple cocktails this week on the road, and I chose one that another group had chosen called the Cool Yule, which I did for Louis Armstrong. It's really fun drink, and I haven't had it since I recipe tested it. It's whiskey, Cointreau, Amaro. I used Montenegro. And stirred with Peychaud's bitter for a little nod of the hat to New Orleans. And it's just delightful. Montenegro, if you kind of pair it with something citrusy, will read chocolate. So it's sort of a chocolate and orange with bourbon. So you can't go wrong. It's really delightful. It's great with all those holiday cookies. So that one looks good. It's kind of a beautiful kind of orange.
Ooh, it's pretty too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful orange amber drink. So wonderful.
Ange, what'd you make?
Well, again, we made two. The first one, which I'm drinking right now, is the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yay!
Mostly because, well, A, it sounds delicious, and it is delicious, but also because I had everything in stock.
Nice.
So, not a lot of time to run around this week. So, it's good. It's good.
Nice.
I did it on the rock.
Excellent.
Instead of up, because I want to keep it cold.
Yeah.
Like it's slow.
And I made a Ring-a-Ding-Ding.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the from the Cheap Trick album.
Awesome.
Which is tequila, mezcal, lime juice, hibiscus syrup, Luxardo, and a cherry. And it looks delicious. I haven't tried it yet.
Did you make the hibiscus syrup?
I didn't. I bought some.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that's something you could buy. I don't know.
Nice.
Okay.
Ooh, that's tasty.
Mm.
That's really good.
I love
That's
that
nice.
album. That album is so much fun. You know, it was fun doing this book and trying, you know, I always try to get a nice variety, right? So, you know, everybody's not a 70s crooner, nor, you know, some of their genres. You know, it's one of those books where it's like, if you're into country, I got you. If you're into hip hop, there's something in there. And then some one-offs. And then just some weird stuff to provide a little variety from all the saccharine Christmas music.
Right.
And Cheap Trick did such an amazing job. If people don't know it, it's an album where they did covers of songs that they like that had already been covered, basically, which is very Cheap Trick. Just really, really fun stuff. They cover the Ramones, Chuck Berry, the Kinks, that kind of stuff. So if you're into rock and roll, it's kind of a must-have album. So I'm so glad you chose that one. That's such a fun album.
So how did the album choosing go? Did you have all these ideas, or did your team throw out some ideas for an album? How did the choices come up before you get to the cocktail?
Yeah, I do all the albums. I kind of do a deep dive combing through who's important, who the critics think are good. I start categorizing things in different genres. Again, I want to make sure that, you know, I cover some of those early crooners, but also get all the way up. I think in this book, we go up to Norah Jones, 2020, I think. You know, I wrote the book basically last year, so we can only get so close. But luckily, you know, Norah had put out a you know, kind of like a modern classic, so we could get there. There's Sia. There's a number of artists that are quite recent in this one, which was really fun. It's sort of a difficult process of elimination. You know, there's stuff that I love. There's always something that everybody, you know, is like, oh, I can't believe you missed this or whatever. But I really tried to get a nice variety. And I really do try to make sure that if you get these albums, you have kind of the cradle of Christmas music in an important way, kind of more like an encyclopedic way. And I do love the fact that, you know, some of these are in genres that I don't necessarily love myself or identify with, but I can recognize the quality, and I think everybody can. And I love it when I do these Booze and Vinyl books of people, you know, coming to me and saying, you know, I never heard of that. You know, a lot of people in Booze and Vinyl 1 had not heard of Manu Chao, hadn't listened to Manu Chao, even though he, you know, kind of had this great big international hit that you hear in any place with a hammock around the world, really. If there's a beach and a hammock, you're going to hear Manu Chao. You know,
and a rum drink.
For instance, you know, that's one of the ones from that book that people say, oh, I didn't know Manu Chao, or, you know, a number of others in there, depending on what you're into. And I love the fact that it's like, you know, I had known about this Cheap Trick because I knew some of the songs that they had covered, but I had never listened to the whole album, and it's so good. So, you know, but there's a number of albums in here that are like that, that are, you know, just kind of like genre defining or breaking, or, you know, just a big deal for whatever reason that they're doing. And I'll say quickly, you know, I do a deep dive into the music. And what fascinated me on this one was doing a deep dive, researching how did sort of, I don't want to say it's secular Christmas music, but Christmas music began in churches, and all of a sudden it leaves the churches and enters the airwaves. And I wanted to know why and when. And it really was Bing Crosby, who in the 40s, he had already been a crooner and singing kind of these home, you know, kind of these nostalgic songs during the Depression. He really kind of broke during the Depression. And then he, you know, did White Christmas. And it was all a timing thing where right after he made White Christmas, Pearl Harbor happened. And so all of a sudden you have a country that's, you know, thinking about loss, that's thinking about people leaving and not coming home. And if you notice, so many Christmas songs are about like people coming, people leaving, pining over people that are gone, pining over people that we had with us last year that are no longer here, things like that. And then all comes from Bing. And what's interesting, especially to me, you know, with my interest in vinyl, is that Bing put out White Christmas as a quote unquote album on 45s, but it predated LPs and then was recompiled in the late 40s. So LPs kind of came out in 1947 through 49, kind of this post-war boom. of technology. So Bing's White Christmas really drove LP technology. People bought record players to hear his album. That's how big White Christmas was as a commercial hit. And it also showed the record labels that Christmas music was a viable genre. And there you go. You start getting, everybody's a fast follower. Perry Como came out quickly afterwards. Gene Autry comes out, all the way up to Dean and Martin, Sinatra. And today, we have these young artists, and basically, if you're anybody in music at a certain point, people are going to push you towards making a Christmas album. And it's just a fascinating thing. So not to go too far in that, but it was fascinating to me, why does this religious holiday become sort of this musical holiday that kind of everyone appreciates? And I've been around the world in different spots on Christmas. And, I've been in Lebanon and they're playing Christmas music in the stores, I've been, I've been in Korea and Japan, and because a lot of the world treats Christmas as a commercial holiday, but they still play Christian music, and it's like, oh, everybody loves Bing Crosby, So it was very fascinating.
It's really amazing. Not to get away from the book too much, but it's really amazing how global, how big holiday music is.
Yes.
On Sirius satellite, they've got there might be 3 channels, and it's just nonstop Christmas music for a month plus. Right? It starts. I think it actually starts before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving, right?
Right.
Which is sacrilege. I think it's wrong.
It is sacrilege. But you're hearing it and hearing the music in commercials, on TV, on radio, all over, in department stores, wherever, for a solid 6 weeks. Solid 6 weeks.
To be cynical, it's Pavlovian. You hear the music,
you buy something.
You start moving the credit card. Ching, ching,
that's right.
Ching, ching, ching. You do it in terms of the bells.
But the commercial side is really big of it, right? The selling product out of it is huge.
Absolutely.
I wonder are there more or less Christmas releases, albums today than there were 10 years ago, 20 years ago? I don't know. I don't hear about a lot of this popular music, current music.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of reissues, I'm sure, right? But does Katy Perry have a Christmas album?
Probably.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
They have. So what was interesting in this is, my first thought is, it's 2023. She's on Time magazine cover, Taylor Swift Christmas album. She's done songs, but they've never compiled as an album. And there's a number of them like that because of this new Spotify era. They put out a song for, to be downloaded kind of as an extra, but there's less of a feeling for, a full album statement, which seemed to be much more important earlier, maybe up until the 90s. But also to contradict that, you have Sia, Nora Jones, you have Sheryl Crow, you have a number of people that have put out, Dolly Parton has a very recent new Christmas album. So it just depends on, I think, what the artists themselves want to do. I mean, you have a Kelly Clarkson, which is a fantastic. You have Carrie Underwood, and that's fantastic. I think it often depends on the artist's vocal range. Some of these, I would say, especially ladies, have just, phenomenal vocal range, and they can do so much more than their pop songs, and they get to show that off in these Christmas tunes, which often are complex, wide-ranging, really interesting stuff. So it depends. Of course, Michael Bublé, John Legend are kind of recent and have monster, very successful Christmas albums. I think there's just some of those artists that, you can look at them and be like, yeah, Christmas album, and Michael Bublé is an obvious one.
Some of the country artists too.
Exactly. Carrie Underwood is a phenomenal voice.
Hey,
Idina Menzel, who did Frozen, I put that in here. She has a great kind of really classic, I want to call it a throwback, but it's extraordinarily classic Christmas album. Why? Because she has the chops to pull it off.
Yeah.
And, it just makes for a great fun album. And, of course they're capitalizing on her Frozen fame, but come on, she's fantastic anyway. So, it's kind of interesting.
Hey, by the way, I was doing a little search. So on Detroit News, which posted on the 5th, They listed 12 new Christmas albums for
Yes.
2023. So Cher has a Christmas album.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Michael W. Smith, I don't know who that is. He has a Christmas album. Tower of Power.
Tower of
I'd like to listen
Power.
to that one. That would
Yeah.
probably be awesome. Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
She has a Christmas
A Chris-
album?
I wish they would tell me these things before I'm doing my There would be both Alanis and Cher in this book, obviously.
Yeah,
That is
Samara
so
Joy.
funny.
John Party. I don't know who that is. I think he's a country guy. Elevation Worship. I sounds like it
That's
would be a
probably a
gospel album. maybe?
Religious one. Yeah.
Brandy
Religious album.
has a Christmas album.
Brandy.
Nice.
Brandy. There is the Great Christmas Hits by Pentatonics.
Nice.
Here's one that's a little closer to home. A Philly Special Christmas Special. And
What's
I think
that?
one of the Eagles sings on it. Who's the one of the
Nice.
brothers? What's
I
his
thought
name?
you were going to say it's Hall and Oates, but they're having a fight.
They're having a big
Kelce.
fight. Yes.
Travis Kelce sings a song.
Travis Kelce sings a song.
Travis
Oh
Kelce,
my
and
God.
apparently he's pretty good. And
Huh.
Jason Kelce, I think, is in on it too.
Oh, my gosh.
And Jesse James Decker, whoever that is, and the great Johnny Mathis.
Johnny
It
Mathis.
might be a
album?
re-release.
That's a
Maybe it's
re-release.
Johnny
Yeah, it might be.
Mathis opens the book.
Yes, he
I
does. I saw
I
that.
didn't grow up with Johnny Mathis, but it's kind of interesting what you hear when you listen to all of it at the same time over a couple months. Johnny Mathis was kind of the velvet voice of his era, and when he came out, it was just more youthful and peppier. And still, his beats per minute on his songs, they're just really compellingly uplifting. So
Johnny Mathis page here
You know,
for everyone to see.
I always want to do the books. I separate them all out, in like Booze and Vinyls. I did the rock and, dance and jazz and, kind of like chill. And this one, I did kind of want to have it start with like, not all Christmas music needs to be like saccharine and melodic and nostalgic and depressing. Some of it's really good for getting ready for a party or keeping a party going. And so I wanted to start with that and be like, there's Christmas music you can put on and you're not going to be like drinking the bottle of whiskey. You're going to, you're feeling a little good, you're up. So I wanted to make sure put that in there. And his album really kind of defined kind of a new way of doing it because it was crooners before him. And with him, you kind of get something really positive and peppy and fun. And I found personally putting it on at parties or gatherings that people love it. It's Christmas music, but it's all got that little extra tempo that some of them do. Phil Spector has it too, of course.
Yep.
The Temptations and, Ella, that's a little bit jazzy and a little bit elevated. But so Johnny's a great classic Christmas album. I wish I had grown up with it. I didn't, but
You mentioned Phil Spector.
yeah.
Hey, look who's here.
Ugh.
The Grinch himself.
Hey,
Hey.
No.
I resemble that remark.
I'm the Grinch. I'm the Grinch. He's more like the heat miser.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Hey, Mike. Welcome to the
necessarily
to the
better.
party. Yeah.
I didn't say it was better. It's just the opposite side of a bad coin. I'm on one side, you're on the other. That's all.
Who wants this
we are-
coin?
No one wants this coin.
We
Anyway,
are chatting about albums in the book with Andre here on BoozeDancing Entertainment Network. Andre's new book is called A Booze Vinyl Christmas. It's all cocktails paired with wonderful Christmas albums. And we were just about to talk about, or I was, the Beach Boys album,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite Christmas albums by far. It is, and you have an interesting liner note here that it's Brian Wilson is trying to be in that same world as Phil Spector,
Yeah.
which all that background backing vocals and that the Beach Boys did was so much based on what the Wall of Sound. That's a great freaking album. It's nice to see it in here.
The Phil Spector album's phenomenal. What was crazy to me doing this book was just how many people went back to the Phil Spector well. And I feel like the smartest, savviest musicians went back to the Phil Spector well. Of
Like Brian
course,
Wilson.
when Phil was doing his music, Brian Wilson, of course, was the first kind of other genius to to realize that that kind of wall of sound was perfect for the harmonies that he was doing with the Beach Boys. The Beach Boys album is fascinating real quick because it's one of those albums that almost wags the dog of the rest of the band. It's so good that I think it worried them. Critics came and said, the Beach Boys are great, but their Christmas album is something new and next level. And I think it's one of the first, I think it might be one of the very, very few Christmas albums that actually took an artist of their stature and moved the ball forward in a Christmas album. Because most people thought of Christmas albums as, kind of off to the side, maybe a little kitschy. And Brian Wilson took it extraordinarily seriously and really funny. Christmas Coupe. I mean, he would just take the same song and redo it if it worked. He copied Phil. If that worked, he did. It was just a beautiful, and it really worked with Brian's sort of, I don't know, religious genius. There's just something going on there. But to go back to the Phil album, which came out a year prior, Phil was using all of the singers that he was making big hits with. And going back to that, one of the big artists that went straight back to the Phil Spector well, realizing what a genius he was of course Mariah Carey and her producers. And Mariah is really kind of, I grew up with Mariah on the airwaves. I have friends that do a countdown to when they're going to hear Merry Christmas. They're like, I heard it earlier this year. It's that big. Mariah Carey rules the airwaves of Christmas. But her album is such genius because they realize that she's ultimately sort of a soul singer, right? So she's pop, but she has the chops to do soul. So somewhere along the line, somebody looked at that Phil Spector and Darlene Love album, and they cribbed a lot from it. And it's hard to argue that the ghost of Phil Spector is all over that Mariah Carey hit. That hit album, and it's just genius to go back to it. A number of Kelly Clarkson goes back a few times too. I think when these artists hook up with really great producers, the producers are like, well, let's go look at what Phil did and way back when, and kind of do something similar. But hats off to some of those albums that we think of as being really poppy or maybe even trite, and we've just heard too many times. And when you really dig in there, you've got the strings, the backup singers, the soul beat. It's doing all these interesting things, which is why it's this hit.
You have this interesting arc of Christmas music that, like you said, with going to the crooners, it's very serious.
Yeah,
it's very serious. And you get into the 70s, and it's certain people are very serious, but it kind of gets into the novelty world easily. Yeah, but we've seen that kind of go away, and now things are still serious more often than not.
Right.
These records are really well produced, and they go back to an era where production is really, really important. And when we're trying to make good music, it happens to be Christmas music, right?
Right.
And we want it to be.
The 70s and 80s are really interesting because in theory, the Christmas music should have kind of gone off an edge kind of in the late 60s, right? When it just all seemed, it was World War II where we had talked about that it kind of started, that kind of culture kind of petered out. But then what's weird is that you get these incredible 70s artists. I mean, I'll just mention one of the greatest Christmas albums of all time. Actually, they did two, were the Carpenters, and you get these explosive kind of gorgeous Christmas albums going up into the 80s, you get these like one-offs, where I don't even know if they're one-offs, but you get maybe a narrowing of the field, where probably in the 50s and 60s, just so many Christmas albums were being made because it was commercially viable. But then you get into the 70s and you get like the Carpenters, or you get Barbara Streisand, or you get, some of these just mega singers. So it's pretty interesting. And it almost diverges a little bit where it kind of goes off kitsch one way. And like Carpenters or Barbra Streisand in the other way. And I find that's one of the reasons why I really love like that Cheap Trick album, because they're kind of like, we can do both. We can be great rock and roll. Yeah. It is kitsch. Yeah. We admit that it's kitsch. We're here for it, and that's kind of fun. And then now, I think we're in a moment where we're just much more willing to have these kind of saccharine albums, or songs.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think My theory is that probably in the late 60s, early 70s, television was a big factor here.
Yeah.
Because you had Lawrence Welk, you had a lot of variety shows, then you got the specials that came out at Christmas time.
Yep.
And so those people like Cher or Sonny and Cher, whoever, Partridge Family, you name it, who got a Christmas special, they had to be kind of serious. It wasn't always just Danny Bonaducci making fun of himself.
Right.
It was, they had to be kind of serious for television. And so it kind of, so you had this kind of, you'd think that the hippie era would be that pop rock era would kind of drive religious music away. It sort of comes back, I think, because of television.
Yeah.
You can't just be a jerk on TV. You have to sell soap. So I think that kind of elevated things, and still to this day. Mike, you had something in your hand when you sat down, and it was explosive. Oh my God! Look at that.
I know,
Michael. What are you drinking, sir?
I'm just having some blue water. The water quality here is very poor. It's just poor.
Don't drink the water.
Chlorinated water.
What's your cocktail?
This is the Blue Christmas.
Yeah.
The Blue Christmas.
Rum, curacao, blue curacao, white cranberry juice, fresh lime, and I put a whole lime on there as garnish.
Is that from the Elvis album?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
I was
I'll
Page
have a blue
17.
Christmas
Oh, it's good.
without you.
That's good.
I will have a blue Christmas without
So
you.
I made two, and this one gets a seal of approval in the house.
nice.
Excellent.
The other one has bourbon in it, so that's always
Don't
voted down.
reveal yet.
It's always
Don't reveal
voted
yet
down.
on the
Don't
second.
reveal yet. Yeah. So, well, that's a good transition here. So we've been talking music for a while here. Let's talk cocktails. So, what's that process of, you've got all this music playing in your house or wherever you are with your team? How do you think about cocktails for albums? Where do you go? Or you just
drink a lot and stream
just
of
drink a lot?
consciousness.
Hey, let's make it old fashioned every time.
Hey, look at that bottle back there. What's that? Let's make a cocktail.
This one had a number of things I did want to try because I was excited to do sort of a cold weather cocktail book. The fun, and each of these books I kind of get like an ingredient vernacular going. I actually put it up in the front in this one. You need the cocoa, you need the apple, you need the cinnamon sticks,
that's great.
The pumpkin spice. I have a sort of a Christmas pantry that I put together. So now when I do these books, I want to make sure, I've realized that the tighter focus I have flavor-wise, the better the drinks, the better the concept, the better the book. The less likely it is that my first review is like, love this book, but I couldn't find any of the ingredients. So I want to make sure that it's really accessible, but still interesting. I knew there was going to be chestnut. I'm playing on some stuff that I've done before. I knew there was going to be toasted cinnamon, that stuff. The other thing that excited me with doing holiday drinks was that this is kind of the time of year to go wild and do the things that you wouldn't normally do the rest of the year, such as blue curacao, such as Goldschlager, such as Jägermeister, such as, a lot of that stuff is in here. And even further down the road, Johnny Mathis, I'm starting off with desiccated coconut on the rim to represent snow. Why not? Go nuts. Yeah. Cocktails are, coconut is great.
Yeah.
Cocktail glitter came out a few years ago. I'm in theory anti-cocktail glitter, but not for this book because it's the holidays and it's a glittery time of year. If you're going to have a glitter drink, your holiday party is the time to do it. So there's quite a bit of that kind of playing around in this, which I really had fun with. I have some flavor things that I wanted to do to people. One, which is like whiskey and lime is good together. Amaro and lime. I wanted to do, I chose some of these albums. They are incredible albums anyway. But I chose some for the variety that I could get away with. Drinks wise. For instance, this will segue between the holiday specials and the cocktails. So a few of these albums are great holiday specials. One is John Denver and the Muppets, which it should be a kitschy mess that we've forgotten about, but instead it's a quality album with great writing and actually wonderful voices and really fun. But came out as a Christmas album on TV, in pairing with TV. And I decided, well, I have to have a drink for Gonzo, and he's a tropical ambiguous species. So that allowed me to use banana liqueur. And it's like, yeah, banana liqueur at Christmas time. Hand it to somebody. They're going to love it. They've never seen anything like it. Mind blown. We don't have to stay within the lines. For this one, again, I do the albums. I write sketches of the drinks. I fly my friend, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Lundell, flies down from Philadelphia. He worked at, a number of the greatest restaurants in Philadelphia and DC. He was Jose Andres' beverage director, that kind of thing. We work really, really quickly. We workshop the drinks. We go through them all. We figure out what's working, what's not working, that kind of thing. So a lot of time spent in it. Mainly I'm trying to get to what some of these drinks just speak to me. Are they classic 50s? Are they country? Are they something like the Muppets where I can go nuts with it? So lots of peppermint. I made up some fun stuff that I actually enjoy far more. I write all the drinks on paper because I've just been seeing drinks for so long. I can kind of tell what something's going to do. Sometimes I'm surprised for, better or worse. Things like the Stinger, which I grew up with. The Stinger was sort of disappearing when I came along. Drinking a Stinger is brandy and creme de menthe. It was hugely popular in the 60s and 70s into the 80s. I grew up with it with, people sort of drinking it at lunchtime to cover the fact that they were drinking. And I always thought this is kind of a gross drink. It's brown liquor cognac with brandy, with creme de menthe. I was like, that's kind of gross. What if I reimagine it as a gin sour? And so here I'm using creme de menthe, which I don't love, just as an additive, just as a little, bit of bartender ketchup, right, in there to make a gin sour really sing. Turns out if you add creme de menthe and gin and, a little bit of, I think I do Cointreau to just sweeten up a little bit, and an egg white, you end up with this like boozy peppermint milkshake. And I'm like, this is better than a Stinger. So there's just some fun stuff that I got away with doing.
Mike, are you taking notes?
A lot of Amaro in this one. Sorry, what'd you say?
I asked Mike if he was taking notes.
So yeah, that gin, the stinger that I do is for kissing Claus. It's for Jackson 5. I thought, if mommy's gonna kiss Santa Claus, everyone might as well have good breath, right? So, so those are the mint drinks. So some fun stuff like that. I think good time. Sometimes the albums really are kind of like pulling teeth with it, but with this one, because I actually had the narrow focus that we're doing holiday drinks, it made it a little bit easier in a way.
I like the connection you make with some albums with parties, right? Holiday time, right? So you have some punches, many punches in here that are like meant for more than one person. They're a big party bowl because that's what the time of year is. It's getting together for holiday parties. And you kind of focus that way. You have a fair amount of those.
Yeah, I did up the punches for this one because I thought, this is the time of year that, if even if you're just gathering, often you end up with like 4 people in the house. You know what I mean? People are dropping by, they're doing stuff. It's a very social time of year. I always make sure that people know too that any of the, I have a section of like how to make your own stuff, how to make up your own stuff. What are the kind of the backbones of a punch? What makes a good punch? And also, how to batch cocktails where, people are big into batching. The huge, refrigerator cocktail thing going on, which I'm less excited about than just batching a cocktail fresh. But, for the people watching, a quick batch, if you have people coming over, is any of the cocktails, you replace the ounces with cups, right? And you're talking 6 to 8 servings then immediately. So if the ingredient is an ounce of whiskey, make it a cup of whiskey. If it's an ounce and a half of vermouth, it's a cup and a half of vermouth, and you end up with a punch bowl. And it almost is flawless and works every time. And it's perfect because you can do it on the fly when you've already had a few drinks. You're not pulling out the calculator or anything.
By the way, I'm a simpleton. I was putting out the calculator.
Yeah, we'll pull out the calculator unless you really want to make 2 or 4.
No, well,
Yeah.
no, like you said, like
5.
I like Thanksgiving. I made a big mason jar full of Bucharest.
Yeah. Oh,
And I'm
nice.
over there like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Duh. Thank you.
You
Thank
can
you,
just
Andre.
do it from
you.
ounces to cups, and it just raises it to 6 to 8. Believe me, it doesn't matter. By the time you're making 6 to 8 servings, they're all gone.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And you
Nope.
can do that. You can double it again if you want that much more.
Right.
If your party grows, your ounce in your head while you're already drunk, you say, 1 ounce, 2 cups, 1.5 ounce,
Yeah.
2.5 cups.
Right.
Yeah. So no calculator necessary.
So one bottle, a bottle and a half.
Right.
2
Exactly.
bottles.
Exactly. That's a party. That's a party.
Okay.
So even though Mike's a little bit late here, maybe we should talk about our second drink, our second cocktail.
Oh wait,
Right.
first I want to congratulate you.
Good, Mike.
You don't just throw in simple syrup
Yeah, no,
and
never.
say, "Oh, you're a simple syrup." You
Almost
went
never.
and you put 9 different kinds of simple syrup in the book and how to make it.
Yeah.
So it isn't just making it a little sweeter. It's let's throw extra flavor into it. It's not just sugar. It's raisins or rosemary, hibiscus, whatever it is, chestnuts, because we want that into the drink. We don't just want sugar. We want flavor. And yes, you need to sweeten the drink up, but let's do it in a better, fun way as opposed to something else. And you're not just saying raisin syrup and people are trying to find like, where am I supposed to get this? You actually have the recipe in there how to make it.
Yeah. The raisins, I'm glad you brought that up. I love that you brought that up because raisin syrup was a little bit new to me. I had played with it in a couple other books. I started to get some weird syrups going. I've been writing these cowboy books. And so I'm trying to find things that, cowboys would have had on the road. And it turns out that the raisin syrup is phenomenal. And it's really rich and fun. And to your point, I think during the holidays, I tell people at some point in here, one way to just make your parties memorable is to make a simple syrup and make any drink that people already know. And if it's, if the spice flavor is apropos for it, Negroni or whatever, you don't need Negroni, simple syrup and Negroni, but whatever you're doing, if you just jazz it up a little bit, you can kind of have a house simple syrup, and you can leave that in your fridge for a couple of weeks. So during the holidays is a great time to like make 2 and drink them through, and it's amazing it's amazing how many fun things you can come up with if you already have a toasted cinnamon syrup in your fridge or a raisin syrup in your fridge. You'll find things to do with it. You'll say, oh, I made the raisin simple syrup and I had it with an old fashioned. Tonight, let's try, X with it. So yeah, I always try to not just do the simple syrup. They're so easy, they're so easy. So I feel like in a book like this, I want to make people's life easy this time of year, and actually it makes it people's lives easier to have simple syrup ready than not.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, one thing you said easy. I think all of your books really are standouts because you are making it easy for the user who might not be a cocktail person, right? The recipes are not complicated, but they're complex. The ultimate drink is complex, right? But to getting there is not hard. Anyone can do this.
I'm trying to provide a lot of oomph of interest and power in the drink with the least amount of effort, because I am, a quite lazy cocktailer, and I'll pick up books, and I'll go to the store and I'll bring the hot new cocktail book home. And I think that's awesome. I just will never make any of this.
It's too complicated.
And I want to make sure that people know that you can accomplish so much with fresh garnish, ready to go, good ice, some simple syrup, a few ingredients, and glassware. And you can be at sort of prosumer level at your own holiday parties. And you don't need to be straining shit for hours and, resting stuff, and dividing things up and all that stuff. I'm buying esoteric stuff, because I go to the bars so often now, and it'll have, I'll read all these exciting things that are in the drink. There's 7 exciting things in the drink. And then you get the drink and you're like, kind of just looks like a Manhattan. kind of just tastes.
Yeah, it's true.
Why didn't they just make a Manhattan?
Yeah.
You know, so I know they have a roto evaporator and they dried out some, African berries days, sent it home with the cook so he could bury it in his mother's backyard, and then they smoked it and brought it back. And it's just like you could have accomplished this with like just not this much work.
And it was $20.
Well, I was gonna say they can't charge you $20.
So I really want to, I always try to demystify things and make things interesting for people. One of the things that I really love, to go back to the syrups, one of the things I really love is chestnut syrup. Of course, it's perfect for this time of year.
I want to make that.
But the chestnut syrup tastes like squash, and it tastes like pumpkin.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so we think of it as a nut, but when you try it, it's kind of like it's like warming and pumpkiny, and it's just like brilliant in cocktails, and it's so easy to do. And it'll blow people's minds. It'll blow my mind. Every time I make the chestnut syrup, it blows my mind. I think, why don't I always have chestnut syrup? Because it's that delicious. This time of year is perfect because you can get them either, sort of shrink wrapped or in a jar.
Yeah.
Other times of year, they can be a little hard to procure. I sort of buy mine all this time of year, or you have to get them off Amazon. But I'm always looking for kind of the Occam's razor, of cocktails. Like, if it's simpler to do it this way, just do it that way.
Simple's good. Simple's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cocktail number 2. Andre, did you make a second one?
Or you only have the one? I'm still on this.
Ange, what was your second one?
My second one is probably from the greatest Christmas album of all time, A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I went with Linus and Lucy.
Nice.
Not only the greatest Christmas album of all time, but probably the greatest Christmas special of all time.
Yes, talking about Christmas specials for sure.
Because it is the most rewatchable as far as I'm concerned. So, but that's just my humble opinion. Who am I?
I think you're right on that.
But it's a damn good drink. And what's funny is we had a very similar drink a couple weeks ago in Philly at a Puerto Rican restaurant called Bolo.
Oh yeah,
on Sampson Street, and it was actually it was almost the same. I think the only difference was you added bitters and the lemon peel.
Okay,
and I was like, and I'm kind of obsessed with this combination, this cognac, amaretto, and like coffee thing. It's just
so good.
It's just so easy, and it's so damn delicious.
It's so damn delicious. I like the lemon in it. I don't know if you do. I like the lemon. I do. The lemon gives it a little, little lift.
A little kick, just a little bit of brightness to it. Maybe brightens it up a little bit.
It makes it more of a cocktail rather than just kind of a combo.
Yeah, because like I had the drink at this place, and we were on a PR event, and I had the, I emailed the PR person. I'm like, what was in that drink? I need the recipe because it's so damn easy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's just so good. It's just really so good.
Well, going back to that, I want to tell people that, you can have like 12 bottles on your shelf for the holiday season and maybe a syrup in the fridge, and you're going to get to drinks that blow your mind.
Yeah.
This is an example of coffee and what is that? Coffee, amaretto, and cognac.
Coffee, amaretto, and cognac. I mean, and I imagine you could substitute something else for the cognac.
Yeah.
You could throw some bourbon in there.
The cognac has a really nice, like smooth roundness to it.
Yeah.
That makes it work with the amaretto.
Right.
And I had never done amaretto with brandy before, but again, this is the time of year. This is why I wanted to do this book. It's like, amaretto. Work with amaretto, but Christmas is the time.
And it's good because there's just enough sugar in the amaretto, but not too much.
Yep.
That it just kind of, because I thought there was like syrup. No syrup at all. I guess there's more than enough sweetness in the amaretto to just make it a really smooth, easy drinking drink. And I think if you're not really a coffee person, which those two gentlemen are not, they might be able to tolerate this.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's like just enough. Where amaretto might be too sweet, or cognac might be too strong. It's just a really smooth, delicious drink. So anyway, that's my choice.
Well, the coffee just acts as a bitter.
Yeah.
Mike, did you make a second one?
I did. I made from the Dolly Parton album.
Oh, nice.
The What Mary Knew.
Oh, I love that drink.
What is that?
So it's 2 ounces of bourbon. And I used, I had a little left over from the fine folks that went out of business at the Cooper River. So that's a Cooper River bourbon. And Southern Comfort, little simple syrup, dash of Angostura, dash of orange bitters, and a cherry.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
So
That's
You
a very
broke all your
orangey drink.
rules with this
Easy
one.
peasy. And I just happen to have some. Again, you collect these bottles and you don't know what to do with them. Like, I'm not going to drink Southern Comfort normally, but I had a bottle of Southern Comfort and I was like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Blue Curacao. Like, I have it. I don't really use it for anything.
I'm really bullish on. Well, one of the things with this book was a sort of nostalgic, right? I think many of us grew up with a Blue Curacao on the bar shelf. I did. My parents had it. No one ever drank it. It just sat there.
Yep.
SoCo was the same.
Yep.
And I'm actually pretty bullish on SoCo as a additive, right? As a sweetener. You don't want to go drinking it necessarily, but an ounce, or, a quarter ounce, half ounce, as a modifier, it's wonderful and famous for a reason. I mean, we make fun of it. It's very much like a Christmas album, right? The guilty pleasure that, like, it's kind of saccharine. You shouldn't like this. And you try SoCo on the rocks. You're like, oh, it's good though.
and it's got a high enough proof.
Yeah. Right.
But then it's got the sweetness. Yeah. So it's like a cocktail in a glass. It's got them both. So
I think half of my blood alcohol content in college was also SoCo, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I drank it a lot.
It was one of my first ones too. I drank it. And,
but wasn't that really the origin of SoCo? It was basically really a cocktail in a glass. It was almost like an old fashioned, ready to go.
Yeah,
and what's fascinating is it's quite old. I don't remember.
It's like late 1800s, early 1900s.
In this book, but it's really quite old. It's fascinating.
New Orleans, right?
Yeah,
New Orleans. Yeah.
Go figure.
And it is comforting. It's comforting. I'm comforted right now.
It's not more SoCo when you go down there. Now it's all hurricanes and all this other crap.
Yeah.
You guys just could be serving like hot drinks with Southern Comfort whipping cream on top. You know that, right?
Yeah. Wasting your time.
And what's the bourbon writer who he has a newsletter?
Who, Minnick?
Minnick?
No, not Minnick.
Oh, Chuck Cowdery?
Chuck wrote a really good article a couple years back on SoCo because he worked for whoever owns them now. I think
he worked for Brown Forman, didn't he?
Okay.
And I think Brown Forman owned them. I think that's or Sazerac. I'm not sure, but it's got a really interesting history. It got cheesy because of 80s college kids and stuff, and it sort of lost its value. But maybe it's coming back. Who knows?
Working to bring it back.
Yes,
that and Midori, which I also put in this.
I had a bottle of Midori too, but I didn't have the rest of the ingredients to make the cocktail, and I ran out of time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have a bottle of Midori, but for some reason I do.
Midori is kind of it's so good in the right application.
It is. I had this cocktail last week at a restaurant, and I don't know where I was, and it was mezcal and Midori plus some other stuff. It was great.
I do that.
Smoky melon.
Ooh.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Ooh, that does sound pretty good, actually.
Delicious. I love that kind of stuff is coming back. It's like
I do too.
It's not the bad old days. You don't need to drink vodka and Midori in a huge, 80s
in a fish bowl.
In a fish bowl.
Right.
Well, you could, but
with an actual fish.
Yeah.
I made a from the Perry Como Christmas album. I drank the Russian pumpkin.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is vodka, Kahlua, cream, and a dash of pumpkin spice. Now I didn't have any pumpkin spice, but I make chai.
Yeah,
frequently.
chai spice.
So I had chai spice that I make, and that I use, and it's just great. This is
fun.
It's a throwback. Yeah.
Fun. So
the smell is just so good.
That's other books creeping in. I'm always kind of working backwards and forwards, and that's definitely a Lebowski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, that pumpkin chai. I mean, chai is brilliant. The chai pumpkin spice kind of, that cream drink that you drink once or twice a year around the holidays. It's perfect for that. That's fun. Those are great.
Are you going to change your bathrobe and your jellies now, though?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We had a party for our whiskey club a couple weekends ago, and all the whiskey cream liqueurs came out.
Yeah.
We had an Irish one, we had a Scotch one, we had a bourbon one, and they just speak of fall, winter, right? Cream and
they're fun, right?
They're fun. Yeah, I
Buffalo
think they get a lot of.
on
They get a
everything
bo-
now, right?
yeah, they get a bad rap, but some of them are really good. I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of sugar in some of them, but some are just, they're really good.
Well, and it's fun because you just pour it on you just pour it on a rock.
Pour
and
it.
You're
Yeah.
done. You know,
Yeah,
you're done with your
and
drink.
I assume you can use that. I actually considered putting one of those into this cocktail instead of just regular
yeah.
cream.
Yeah,
Right?
that'd be
That would
fun.
do. Yeah.
I feel like this is the
Um,
time to indulge. You meet up with a friend and have a cocktail that you never normally would drink, and just indulge. And it's like, we kind of got to the point where we don't allow ourselves. It's like, oh, I don't drink cream drinks. Oh, I don't do this. Oh, I don't do that. And Christmas is the time to do it.
I agree.
Well, and I think when you're a beer drinker, you tend to seasonal your beers,
Right.
but when you're a cocktail drinker, you don't, and it doesn't make sense. Like, why not? Why not drink a heavier, thicker, some sort of cream cocktail during the holidays that you're not going to drink in the middle of summer because it's not as refreshing as you want it to be? But why not? You're going to switch over IPAs for stouts. Why not do the same sort of thing on a cocktail?
Yeah, and it's really true. And I think we get into this rut of like, oh, there's too much sugar. I'm going to, I don't drink that, or it's just not good for me. And it's like, just have fun. If you have 2 cream drinks, it's not going to kill you, and you might have a good time.
Yeah.
As a friend of mine told me, it's alcohol. It's not good for you,
Exactly.
but it's
That's
fun
right.
and delicious.
Exactly.
So enjoy
It's
it.
not vitamins.
Right.
No, especially this time of year, watching a holiday special, or just watching the Christmas lights or whatever, a little cream drink, a little hot, a hot cider, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Now, you also put in here, I noticed there's a few recipes. for
Yeah.
food. Yeah. Rum balls. I saw rum balls.
I love doing the recipes. So my theory on this one was nobody needs my cookie recipes, right? I'm not here for that. There's millions of Christmas books. So what I wanted to focus on was things that are in the lyrics, things that are in the songs that I wanted to know about. A good example is figgy pudding. What is figgy pudding?
We got to make it, Mike. I got to make it, Mike. And we got to drink whiskey and in a review and eat figgy
It's
pudding.
actually delicious. I had never made figgy pudding before this book.
It sounds unbelievable. I really didn't know what it was.
Crazy good.
I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, I'm going to do a dive into this and figure out what figgy pudding is. And, there's a big tradition in England. They still make a lot of
the sticky
kind of
pudding and all
fried
that
in a
stuff.
bag, this kind of stuff. It sounds gross, I think, to American ears. And then you make it and it's like the best bread pudding in your life. It's absolutely delicious. It's moist. It's fun. Really good. Another one was sugar plums, which are not plums at all. It was a type of sugaring that was expensive and difficult to do back in the 18th century, I think, when they were born. So there's sort of these great holiday balls, they're just fun stuff. So there's things like that in there that are basically from lyrics. I did apple strudel. And again, my sort of Occam's razor theory of you're already making your cocktails and you might be a little tipsy. So no one's going to braid their own dough and stuff. So I swear to you and to all of your viewers, this is the easiest apple strudel. Anyone can make it in 10 minutes. And let me tell you how apple strudel will change the lives of your guests. When they're already drinking, standing in the living room, and you're like, I just made an apple strudel. And they're like, no, you didn't.
Wow, no way. You went down to the store and got that.
Yeah, and 15 minutes later, it comes out, and you're, wolfing it down. It's awesome. And, hopefully there's snow outside and sparkles and everything you wanted to have come true at the holidays comes true.
And LeBeau is optional.
Yeah, LeBeau and Schultz is saying,
Strudel.
My little cockroach.
You're good at that. I like that. But yeah, so that's the kind of food that's in here. Just fun stuff from the song.
Hey, by the way, for the record, I was going to take it easy and not finish the drinks, but sorry.
Yeah, are they gone? All right.
They're gone. Yeah, they went down a little too easy.
You may have a problem.
Yes. What's your point?
I mean, that you don't have another drink. You should have made a third.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I know you're right.
Well, this is just the perfect kind of book for this time of year, right? I mean, it just, there's so much in here that speaks of the time. And you got music and you've got cocktails that are fun, easy, They're good for groups. They're good for small groups, or bigger parties.
And let's not forget, it is freaking beautiful.
We talked
It
about
is
it.
an absolutely beautiful. I mean,
Again,
they're all beautiful books. Every
Yes.
single one of your books, they're really, really well done. But I think something about this, just because you made it festive,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to say it's more beautiful than the others, but it just kind of brings it up like to a different level.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You know?
Look at that.
agree. I mean, I send this in, and then it kind of comes back, and this is the one I kind of opened up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to hand it to my graphic designer, Josh McDonnell, who's one of the gents that I insisted work on this book, and just the time per page. People are not making books like this anymore.
Would you say there were how many cocktails in here, or how many records?
There's 45 albums, so there's going to be
and it's really literally 45
different
record jackets, right?
Yep.
It's 45 record packages.
Yep.
That's hard.
It's hard.
Creating art for 45 different records is.
I mean, it's a passion for all of us.
Beautiful.
And I think,
Absolutely beautiful.
the pay is not working out for the amount of graphics in this.
It's like a Renoir.
He's just up drinking and making each of these pages. Really, really phenomenal work.
And they're not all the same. They're very unique. Right?
Yeah.
Every one is different. I'm looking at the Carpenter's page.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It is so cool. And it's so of that 70s
but I think you're
era.
right, though. This one really captures the joy, and it's just such a fun, warm album. And that was the thing. I talk about it a little bit in the introduction. Vinyl people, we like to talk about presence and warmth, and why we listen to music on vinyl at all. And while I was listening to this and throwing this vinyl on my turntable, I thought, this is really it. This is not only does vinyl have warmth and presence all the time, but this music was meant to give you those warmth and present feelings anyway. So this is so much more intense than any of the other vinyl experiences you can have in a way, especially since holidays are so fraught with good and bad emotions anyway, right? We all have, there's just a lot going on emotionally during the holidays. And you put this on and you have a drink and you're like, yeah, this is really intense in a really, hopefully great way.
Have you watched The Bear yet, Andre?
Yeah.
Did you see the Fishes episode?
No, I haven't seen the episode yet.
Oh, you haven't seen season 2 yet?
No, I don't think so.
Oh boy, you got to season 2.
All right.
That'll give you a little PTSD. Although it sounds like your family was a lot of fun. So
you
guys sound like you got along really well.
A little bit of both.
There's one episode all about
right?
Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I put some fun ones in there. Is it is it Sufjan Stevens who has he's got like the bad Santa, or he has a great song about the kids come home and the dad gets mad and burns all the presents. That's a fun one. And there's I put a Bad Santa in there. I think it's Cheap Trick actually, which has the Bad Santa song because it's a cover of anyway, but so that one, the Bad Santa is of course Hot Chocolate and Fireball. keeping it classy.
That would probably work though.
Delicious,
probably really good. Yeah,
it's really good.
Hey, do you have the book near you?
Well, I got what's up?
Look at page 104. The Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé.
Mickey Bubbles.
Look at the
God, that
cocktail.
drink is awesome.
Yeah.
I thought of you when I saw it.
That's the one I held up. That's
the one you had. That picture is just with a Christmas tree behind it.
Yeah.
I want to go to this party.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just makes me think of you taking pictures on the murder table.
Yeah. Well, it's especially at Christmas time.
I want to get invited here. I want to go here.
I know. Me too.
Because there's really nothing better than Christmas bouquet.
I know. It's true.
It's the greatest thing in the world. That's like the best part. Like, oh, wait, I get to put the tree up again. I get nice pictures again.
Yeah.
Because I get the lighting right.
What is that on the glass?
Peppermint, I guess, right?
Crushed peppermint.
Crushed peppermint.
Yeah.
Oh, crushed candy cane.
Crushed candy cane.
Delightful.
Wow, that is
Looks
just
delightful.
Awesome. My
That
God,
is
those
beautiful.
glasses are cool too.
And
I was going to say the glass is gorgeous.
That's a fun one, which is, again, I'm using the creme de menthe, which is iffy for me. Can so often just overpower the drink.
Right.
And it's like with a white creme de cacao. So it's super interesting. The cacao also is sweet. So it's always interesting. This was a very interesting book to write, just in terms of sugar and balance. Because I am not a sweet cocktail drinker. I think most people that have been drinking cocktails for a number of years are like, no way. No creme de menthe, no pepper, in any significant quantity. So I was shocked about how balanced some of these were turning out.
Also, like that you roll in the vanilla vodka for the frosting. I mean, that's
I just went there in this one.
Just works.
Just went there.
It works.
If it's too much, drink half of it. But I promise you won't be able to put it down.
If it's too much, you didn't do it right.
Exactly.
That's right. I think that with all of these, I think we've all done a little bit of riff on all of these based on what we had in the house.
Yeah.
And all cocktails can be modified, right?
Yes.
You can you have a little bit less of everything, especially on the sugar side, and you're still going to get a great cocktail.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this is always interesting when I do, going back to cocktail development a little bit, and having owned a restaurant and worked on restaurant menus. This is a fascinating thing, which is, do you aim at the person who comes in and they don't know that much about cocktails? They're, they go to cocktail bars, but they need to have that instant gratification where that first sip needs to be incredible. And it can be sweet, and that's not a problem. Or do you aim at the veterans who let a cocktail kind of open up and think to themselves at their sixth drink, oh, now I get it. The first, I wasn't sure at first, but now I get it. Right. And that is a big thing in the cocktail industry, actually, because, a bar owner will tell you that, if their first sip isn't great, that's their memory and it's not great and they don't want it. But if you're working at it if you're working with a higher end bar, they know that those drinks that are, I don't want to say cheap seats, but the drinks that are really great right away, they don't last necessarily in the glass, or they're too sweet by sip 12. So I had a lot of that in this book, actually. Like, what's the audience? Are we just going for like shameless fun and your first sip is like, woohoo, we're in Peppermint Town? Or was it like, oh no, this is actually really balanced and it's going to come out and it's kind of subtle? And, so we had a lot of that. And we kind of decided that the up drinks that are fun and colorful anyway, you kind of know what you're getting into. And it's like, yeah, we're going to just be kind of fun, but, restrained enough that it's, drinkable by the end for people that have a really good palate. And then kind of the down drinks are much more like, this thing is going to evolve. This is going to be interesting. This Amaro is going to come out. This is, so it's really funny. There's, a lot of these cocktails, actually in all my books, could go one way or the other. And so often it's the difference of a quarter of an ounce of the sugar, right? Yep. A person who's not that versed in cocktails walks into a bar, they need that half ounce, 3/4 ounce of the liqueur, or to get interested, to get excited, and to think it's just fun. And a veteran would be like, any more than a quarter and I'm out, So it's always a balance in that. Again, being holiday drinks, I did side a little bit with the enjoyable on this one. Not the time of year to diet.
So just out of curiosity, how far into your 48-hour test kitchen were you and your for pretty much every drink you were making? I just wondering.
Cocktail number 6.
That is always an issue. We kind of get, we actually start recipe testing 7:30 or 8 in the morning. We spit everything. We spit everything, but we do have to take breaks. There's a lot of like coffee or saltines or something.
Yeah, you got to cleanse that palate.
Yeah.
We'll have our palate burned. So we take breaks. We kind of get up and actually do a little bit of work before quote unquote breakfast so that we can like have breakfast and come back. But yeah, this one was definitely a palate blower, you can taste more martinis in a day than you can taste.
Let's go streaking.
Feliz Navidad with
the
yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of sugar, a lot of liqueur in this book.
Yeah, and probably a lot of things that you know of, but you're not familiar with.
Yeah,
You know, so the creme de menthe and the ratio and Midori and blue curacao and
super fun.
Creme to anything,
Yeah, super fun to play with.
I assume you start with less because you can always add more. You can't take it away, right? So you're always going by quarter ounces or teaspoons or something.
We're always building it up and then kind of being like, oh, this is good, but it's like austere, Yeah. You like it and it's austere. And then you add another quarter ounce, you're like, yeah, that's it.
Party.
For a popular book, if you want people to buy it, they have to be enjoyable drinks right away.
So how long was the process? Weeks, months of the cocktail part? How long did it take you?
Well, the cocktail part, the longest part is kind of, I kind of narrow down the albums. I get things, I kind of sketch in what I think would work for a drink. And sometimes albums just don't speak to me or whatever, and they're kind of tough. This one wasn't too bad, but every book I have one or two or three that I get kind of like stuck on. Sometimes I ditch that album and go for something else that speaks better. The cocktail part itself, I kind of am working the whole time a little bit, but itself we do in about 4 days. We kind of finished the whole
4
book.
days.
Yeah, we finished the whole book in 4 days. I mean, the timelines on these books is really ferocious. So that means, when my friend flies down from Philly, I have, everything is purchased, everything that's coming in is in that kitchen. We are organized, we're ready to go, we're knocking out we're probably knocking out 12, 16 drinks a day, easy.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's like got to the point where it's just very organized. And then
a machine.
It is a machine, and we
have to be.
We run through stuff. It's very much like running through restaurant menus, which we also, Kevin and I, have done together. We've developed recipe program, or cocktail programs for restaurants. And we'll do that. We'll do a whole restaurant, which is like maybe 12 drinks over 3 days. So it's like, we've done this before. Now we're just going to do the speed version of it, every day. New restaurant.
Crazy.
It's pretty crazy. We've gotten, I think this is probably my 5th book with him. So it works. It works pretty quickly. We know when we have, we kind of know when we have problems. It's kind of funny. The drinks are so often now, because we've done so many and I've done so many that, it'll be like, yeah, it's a hit. We need to fix some stuff. Maybe we'll come back, but it's good. It's good. It's good. Or just like, wow, what were you thinking? This isn't going to work at all. And then I have to redo it pretty significantly. And we have some real surprises of what works and what didn't work.
You have to make cocktails again for the pictures, right?
Yeah, they all get recreated.
They have to be pretty then.
Yep, they all get recreated for the pictures in Philadelphia then.
Are you doing that, or are you just giving the recipes and
I give them the recipes? I'm in conversation, giving the recipes. Normally I'm there for the photo shoot, so I'm deeply in the process. For this one, I was not able to be there. But it's a gentleman, Damien Lagarissa he's at A Bar.
Oh, okay.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Really unbelievably talented bartender. So never any doubt that his interpretation of the drink will be spot on or helpful or great. So he helps the stylist then. They make the drinks. We sort of go through, it's a fun process. You write the book, you do all the drinks, and then we go through the graphic designer and the photographer and the stylist to kind of point out which drinks, we can't shoot everything. So which drinks do we really think are going to pop based on color, variety, whether they're being shot horizontally or from above, are things frothy, are things pink? I'm always telling the photographer, this is cool for this reason. This is cool for this reason. And he kind of, we kind of all decide what we're going to shoot based on kind of just how many photos we get to make through the book, and the kind of variety we need. So I love that part of the process because normally I sit by myself, I'm writing by myself, I'm working by myself. Then, Kevin will join me and we'll recipe test for 3 days, but then I'm back by myself. And then I get to see the book come to life, which is, in a case like this, is always kind of just magical. I feel like I'm part of Disney or something, right? Because I wrote this thing and then the pages come back and they're just
came to life.
They come to life and they're gorgeous. And I couldn't have, they expand and extend the words on the page so significantly in these Booze and Vinyl books, and really draw people in. So it really, I mean, that's the addiction. I mean, it's certainly not the pay for the cocktail writing. It's, you know, it's that I've been so lucky to do project after project, and they're all like really interesting things.
It's just they're fun. They're beautifully put together. And we know from going through a few of these now, the cocktails are great. They're just, and we said they're easy for us dum-dums to make good cocktails, right?
Yeah, and you know, I always think, you know, I go to bars all over the world at this point, and it is, you know, it's amazing how a great bartender will still make a martini or a Manhattan or a Negroni, some of those 3-ingredient cocktails. They'll make them in a way that is a revelation, and just so enjoyable. Part of it's the pageantry, but part of it's just actual skill. So it's phenomenal. I always feel like you don't need to have 7 ingredients, certainly for the home bartender. You know, you don't need 7 ingredients. You know, these drinks that are at the bars that have all this stuff going on, that's their job. They're prepping for days. You know, you don't have days. You want to put out a drink that's good for yourself or your friends right now, hopefully, like today, like the moment they're in the house, or at the very least tomorrow. You know, if you have to make a simple syrup or something, do it a day in advance or whatever. But yeah, I really am a firm believer in the classics. You know, I always would tell, I do some restaurant and bar consulting, and I always tell people, like, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to be the most special person in the world. You literally need to make the same thing everybody's making way better than they're making it. You know, if you think of your favorite restaurant, it's not the restaurant that's something fancy and does all this stuff. Their burger's just better than anybody else's burger. You know, and I feel very strongly about that in cocktails too. 3, 4 ingredients, take your time, make sure it's right, make sure your garnish right, make sure your glass is, if it's a frozen drink, make sure that coupe is in the freezer beforehand. That's all the bars are doing. You know, they're making sure that glassware is at the right temperature. They're making sure that olive is nice. They have a pick, put all that stuff out in the advance, that mise en place, you know, get it going.
And you know what?
You can
good
make
ice.
This fun. What do you say?
Good ice.
Good ice.
Good ice.
Good ice really does make a difference.
It really does make a difference.
I mean, it's visual. It's just
presentation-wise,
and it lasts.
Yeah,
it lasts.
You know, it gives you the right amount of dilution over like an extended period of time.
Yep.
So, anyway,
there's nothing worse for me. I guess my one snobby part about getting cocktails is really ice. And when I see someone make a,
can't say it.
There you go.
Nice.
Right? When I get a cocktail, an old fashioned with crushed ice.
Oh yeah.
I want to just kill the bartender, right? I want to leave. It is the worst. Now that I've gone to good quality ice I make myself, large rocks, it does make all the difference.
Yeah,
you know, you're not getting you won't have a glass of water in 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've gotten to the point with, you know, the silicone large ice trays or even clear ice. You know, I have got the cooler and I can make a clear ice and stamp it or something. It's easy. I mean, you can really get to 90% of what the good bars are doing, or be better than the bars you go out to.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree. You know, I don't know how many times I'll order a drink and then they kind of put in that like Coca-Cola ice and they kind of just like start stabbing it, you know, and you're like, well, why am I out? Why am I here?
Yes, I can do this at home.
So it is a problem for those bars, for sure. But yeah, I tell, you know, I do, you know, sort of like cocktail one-on-one quick on some of my events, you know, and I'm always telling people, like, you know, invest in these very basic tools. It's not that scary, you know, and you can kind of open up the world of cocktails for yourself and become a better consumer. And, you know, sadly, it'll whittle down, you know, you think you have 50 great bars in your town, but you have 5.
Right. That's true.
You know, but you might as well go to them, you know, if you're going to go out anyway. But I mean, I think, and it's a super enjoyable thing to do, and just kind of explore the world of flavor. And it's certainly less expensive at home as well.
Well, this is always fun, Andre, getting together with you and talking cocktails and talking about cocktail culture and and making drinks, and in some cases music. And that's a love of mine. Vinyl records are a love of mine. And this is always so fun and challenging to talk about this stuff. And the holidays is a perfect time. This is like such a great idea. I'm sure there are other holiday cocktail books, but this is a really great concept. Putting vinyl and cocktails together. It's just great. And
match made in heaven.
yeah, it's so fun. This is just a fun time of the year, and I like the attitude of we're trying to have fun here. These are cocktails. It's not like rocket science, right?
Nope.
So, and music is a great common denominator at the holidays, and it brings people together, as does alcohol. Right? So put them together, right?
Right.
So you are off on a little bit of a mini book tour on this, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a little tour around December. This is my first kind of holiday book. This is actually maybe my only second fall release. I normally do spring releases. So I'm off to Asheville, and then I finish in Charleston. I did, New Orleans, and I did a couple things up north. But yeah, a Booze and Vinyl Christmas, it was kind of my chance to do a holiday book and also be part of this Booze and Vinyl series, which everybody should check that out too.
Yeah, the other two are great.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes. I'm always hopeful that we get to do another one. So
yep. What's coming up next beyond this one?
So spring, I'm having a big fun spring actually. I feel like I've entered my historical fiction cocktail era in life, which is kind of funny. I kind of entered my fiction era with Batman, and John Wayne, where I was making and Big Lebowski, I was making drinks from fictional characters. And this one I'm going back to actual history. So in spring, I have a book called Cowboy Cocktails coming out, which is kind of turned out more amazing than I could have ever imagined. I went really crazy with the research on this one. It's basically cocktails post-Civil War in the West. Okay. So, after the gold rush and the Civil War, what was going on in the West? Really fun book, really interesting book. And it turns out there was a lot more available out West to these, these cattle drivers and gamblers. When they made big, there was champagne and bitters and Cointreau and all that was already available in the late 19th century. So really cool book. And then book 12 will be with TCM again, Turner Classic Movies.
Wow.
So I did a book with them back in 2016, and I'm back with them doing a book on pre-code Hollywood. So that is your gentleman's alley.
Yeah.
It's basically 1929, 1930 to 1934. So right at our transition out of Prohibition. It starts with The Divorcee, a movie which was one of the first movies to have a female protagonist in such a clear way. And then ends with The Thin Man, one of the great cocktail movies of all time. So I'm really excited. I'm actually really excited about spring. They're two of the best books. I feel like my whole career might have led up to these two books because I really love doing the historical stuff. And this was fun. And both books are sort of underrepresented moments. There's a lot of books about pre-prohibition or what was going on. David Wondrich, amazingly covered a lot of early cocktail culture, right. But nobody has specifically done a dive into the West and what was going on sort of with the cowboys. I think everybody thought that the cowboys sort of drank whiskey's neat. And it's like, no, they love sugar. When they have the money, they were eating maraschino cherries. Right? Really fun, a really fun book. And then we've talked a lot about pre-prohibition and kind of during prohibition, people kind of lose what was happening. And then we know about post-prohibition. So I really had to do an incredible amount of research on sort of the early 30s, which is a fascinating moment in American history anyway, between sort of Hoover and Roosevelt, but also between prohibition and the pre-code and Hollywood having a code that it did not enforce that then it came to enforce in 1934. I'm I'm hugely excited about that book. I'm probably going to do the TCM festival in the spring, so people see me out in LA, and we will be able to have drinks, Aaron,
Get
again.
together. Yep.
It's always a huge pleasure. So yeah, that's spring. So this is sort of Christmas, and then I hope to be back with you guys again, especially for the
Absolutely.
We can talk film finally.
By the way, you're at 5 appearances. That could be number 6.
Ooh, cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Well,
I need a little lanyard.
we gotta make one. We gotta get that done. Andre, we cannot thank you enough for coming back on. This is so fun.
Thanks so much.
The book is great. The cocktails, as we can say, are all really great, and it's just really fun. And and it's a great book to give as a gift. It's available on Amazon, lots of places, right?
This book
Barnes and
really
Noble, I think I saw had it.
Gone nuts. It is available everywhere books are sold, from Barnes and Noble to Target.
Great gift book
everywhere.
Perfect. Take it to your holiday party and leave it, because it's just a great book to give to your host. Andre, thank you for coming on again. We're gonna roll the credits and then just hang on. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I'll hopefully get this out as a podcast in the next couple of weeks. Try to get it out before Christmas for those last-minute gift shopping.
Yes,
that's right.
The big push.
We will push that out for you. Hope sell some more books.
Yes.
So
thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you, Andre. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. Happy.
All righty.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.